Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. I'd like to open the meeting at 7:30. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah. Hoorah. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Mr. Fitzer? Mr. Cusero?
Here.
Mr. Nushai? Ms. Redmond?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Solomon?
Here.
And Mr. Titman?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is approval of the standing agenda. Does anyone have any changes they'd like to make in tonight's agenda? As it stands, seeing none, I will approve it as it is. And we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is approval of the regular meeting minutes from our October 22nd meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion of correction for agenda item 8, the approval of the 220 Main Street ordinance or operational conditions. There needs to be a correction of the motion in the resolve section. The minutes do not reflect the removal of the small smoker, and I'm using the reference of the YouTube transcripts starting at 27.19 minutes, so I'd like to have that corrected.
Seconded? It's the only amendment, but
Can we get that amended, Nick?
We can get that amended for the official record.
Okay, so will I get approval and second on approving the minutes with the amendment made?
yes, I
So
second.
we're saying, okay, and I'll take roll call then.
Okay. Mr. Cusero?
Yes.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
Mr. Tinlin?
Yes.
And Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6 is public discussion. If anyone from the public wishes to speak, my recommendation is we're going to be going through some things, and it might be easier. I will open it for public after each other item here, when we're going through the short-term rentals and the PUD plans. I'll open it for public at that, so rather than get too confused at this point, if anybody has anything to say that they'd like to say now, you can, but my preference would be if you waited. But anyone? Can we get your name and address, please?
My name is August Ostrowski, and I live at 321 Lincoln Avenue. May I speak?
Sure.
Thank you. Good evening, board members and citizens, and thank you for the time to share my proposal today. My name is August Ostrowski. I began this journey of creating a dog park as part of my 10th grade civics project, but it's grown into more than that. It's become a passion project for both me and my mom, and a way to give back to our community. My mom and I moved here in March of 2020 and have since done rescue work. We currently own 2 dogs. They're wonderful rescues that live with us permanently, and they need a safe place to run around and interact with other dogs. The main reason me and my mom chose to come to Clawson was how dog-friendly it was. We're dog lovers at heart, and we're grateful to propose a special place for our furry family members to have a place to socialize. The United States is a dog country. According to American Veterinary Medical Association in 2024, dogs are the most popular pet in the United States, with 65.1 million households owning at least one dog. The residents of Clawson, this represents 40% of all households in the country. Millennials make up the largest percentage of pet owners, being 33%, followed by Gen X, 25%, and baby boomers at 24%. According to Oakland County Licensing Department, there's 7,000 dogs in Clawson as of last year. Compared to the national average, Clawson has 24% more dogs at 63.6% of households. This is a statistically large and significant number. Despite these numbers, there are 0 dedicated dog parks, runs, or even off-leash areas in the entire city. This exposes a significant gap in services in the Clawson community. At any given time, when walking through Clawson, you can see people walking their dogs in the neighborhood, resting on restaurant patios and running around yards. According to the World Population Review, Clawson in 2024 has a population of 11,113. This population is declining at a rate of 0.56% annually, and the population has decreased by 2.2% since the most recent census in 2020. With pet ownership on the rise in the United States, many communities have started introducing special amenities and advertising themselves as pet-friendly to attract new buyers and renters. My mission statement is to establish a fenced-in, off-leash dog park where well-behaved canine citizens can exercise in a clean, safe environment without endangering or annoying people, property, or wildlife. To develop a beautiful, well-maintained space open to all dog lovers and friends who are willing to uphold the park's rules and restrictions. This park will be a community project in partnership with the City of Clawson, designed to satisfy the needs of dog owners and non-dog owners alike. All research, topics, and considerations are founded on the City of Clawson Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Article 1, Guidelines for Municipalities for Operating a Dog Park, Clawson 2025 Recreation Draft Plan, the Clawson Recreation Master Plan Survey, and a national study called Benefits and Conflicts, a systematic review of dog park design and management strategies. With that being said, I am here today with two proposals, one for a dog park and one for a dog run. While there are 3 county dog parks open to all Oakland County residents, only the Red Oaks Dog Park is within driving distance, and it's very large. There's no real monitoring of unlicensed or unvaccinated dogs, and due to the size, owners are unable to control unruly, aggressive, or unsocialized dogs. Me and my mom we stopped going to Red Oaks Dog Park, as it is inundated with untrained dogs. Our dog was attacked twice by aggressive dogs, and the owners did absolutely nothing about it. I know several people that have had the same experience and have since then refused to actually go to Red Oaks. The place is chaotic, covered in dog waste, and lacks any safety measures to protect the dogs within. I understand that recent millage increases, there are no fees, but you cannot put a price on safety in a county-owned park. But in Clawson, we can. I know our family, as well as many others, would happily pay for a membership fee in Clawson to keep our dogs safe and healthy. In the Clawson 2025 Recreation Plan Draft 1 for public review, it is quoted to say, "One item that was requested by citizens is a dog park. Space limitations in Clawson's parks make implementing a dog park challenging, but if the right property were to become available, however, it would be an option worth considering." According to the Recreation Master Plan Survey, question 17, which of the following park amenities would you like to see added more of? Dog parks were number 6, with 24% of survey participants selecting it. While it may not be at the top of the list, there's still a large area of growth, development, and needs to be addressed by the City of Clawson on behalf of all Clawsonians. Clearly, nearly a quarter of people surveyed in Clawson want a dog park here. I'll be representing that quarter of people in Clawson that want a dog park today. Throughout my presentation, I will cover considerations for the dog park. This will include buffers between the dog park and other uses, protection of natural areas, provision of shade, appropriate surfacing, water supply, park seating, controlling dog waste, adequate fences that dogs cannot dig under or jump over, liability, and parking so as to not put additional burden on existing neighborhoods. Clawson currently has ordinances forbidding pets to be off-leash in any public areas. Instead of attempting to rewrite our community's entire dog ordinance, I'd like to request a special use permit or a special exemption. Now, you may ask, why would we build a dog park in Clawson? Well, dog parks are multi-generational destinations for all ages and abilities and are relatively low construction and maintenance, which helps yield the greatest amount of recreation opportunities for the investment. According to the VCA Animal Hospital's website, active dogs are less likely to develop health issues like arthritis, obesity, and heart disease. Dog parks provide a fenced-in area for dogs to run around, which can make neighborhoods safer. They can help improve dog behavior and reduce overcrowding in animal shelters. They can create an increased revenue stream while providing official businesses in Clawson with exposure through a city dog park and programs. And finally, establishing a dog park also works to reduce pet waste issues in a community by centralizing doggy deposits in one designated area, which is a win for everyone. Now you may ask, where would we put it? There are several possible and very simple answers. We could put it in blighted properties or abandoned properties within City of Clawson, which are an eyesore and can be put to better use. We could put it in Clawson City Park, which has lots of unused, undedicated land. If they can find room for a skate park, there's probably a way to find room for a dog park in there. We could also put it in the Hunter Park or Hunter Community Center, which already has dog obedience and animal first aid classes. There's lots of available land, and the space is often used as an official unleashed dog park in the early hours of the day. So this is already a spot people feel comfortable letting their canines loose in. And finally, you could put it in Grant Park, which is on the smaller side, but can be accommodating with a little innovation. These all can provide shade, space, and both on-street and lot parking. Imaginative ways have been applied to accommodate recreational activities in Clawson parks, and all these spaces can creatively accommodate for the dog park I am proposing. Now, how would we pay for it, you might ask? Upon reviewing the city budget of the City of Clawson webpage, it comes clear there are available dollars to afford and fund a dog park. To directly quote a public document, the total of the recommended 2024-2025 budget in the general fund expenditures is $10,353,080. With the general fund revenue budget amount of $10,014,960, the budgeted use fund balance reserve is $338,120. The current budgeted surplus before final budget amendments is estimated at just over $400,000. That's almost $500,000 for consideration to make our community better. Expenses would not have to be added to Clawson resident taxes, which would make residents very happy. I'll also talk about additional funding resources in a minute.
Excuse me. We usually try to limit people to 3 minutes. You got a good program going here. It's interesting, but we can't help you out at this point in time. You're going to have to get a group of people together. That's what I would recommend. Get a group of people on your side. The same as when the skate park opened up. It didn't happen just overnight. There was a group of people that got involved and petitioned for it and got it going that way. We cannot make a decision on this tonight. And I appreciate your interest in it, but I would recommend you find a group of people to support you on that. Okay?
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's just public comment. We
I know,
want to make it out there.
I know, just getting a little lengthy is all.
Yeah,
But
it gets lengthier, but we're going to make sure that we push this through any way that we can.
good luck with it. Good
Thank
luck
you
with
for
it.
listening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And other members of the board.
Thank you. Anyone else in public? Sure.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Tim Quinn. I live on 656 Selfridge Boulevard. I did not see anything on the agenda regarding the Shalom development, and you had mentioned something about that. Was that going to be discussed later?
It's on the,
Because I did not see it on the agenda. But you did make a comment about it.
we're on the short-term rentals. It's also, it's the PUD is what it is.
Well, it's it's the text amendment, actually. They applied for a
Text
text
amendment
amendment to the PUD. Yeah. So
Okay.
it would be item number 8.
Okay, so if you'd prefer, I can wait till after. I
might-
didn't see it as a
Yeah,
PUD or the,
It might be easier if you hear us out first and then
That's
ask your
fine.
questions afterwards. I will
Okay.
open it for public at
Okay.
that point.
I didn't see that on the agenda either, so I wanted to make sure I had a chance.
We hide that. Okay, thank you. Anyone else in public? Seeing none, I will then close public discussion. And we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is site plan application for 639 North Rochester Road. And Mr. Tangeri will start us out with this, I believe.
Hi there. All right. So, this is a fairly minor proposal here. 639 North Rochester is one of our industrially zoned properties over on Rochester Road. It is actually surrounded by other industrial zoning, although the use to the west is not industrial. It's a quadplex. About a half-acre site on the west side of Rochester, just north of Gooddale. Basically, they're proposing one exterior change to the building. They removed an old triangular awning. They want to replace it with a new rectangular awning. It's about 7 feet of clearance. It's about 10 feet by 8 feet 9 inches. We're only focusing on that because it's the only change proposed here. and we found that it was compliant with the zoning ordinance. It was noted that as the site was reviewed, that there's not a marked barrier-free parking space. There's one that's kind of striped like one, but it's not marked as barrier-free. So we wanted to point that out as well, because that's something that should be brought into compliance on the site anyway. But other than that, we didn't really have any issues with the proposed item. If you have any questions for me.
That's the only change being made in the building.
Correct.
And it doesn't call for, you're not calling it for a site plan approval, you're calling it a site plan application just as a minor change.
Yeah, I mean, it is a site plan approval, but yeah, it's just this awning, that's all it
Right.
is.
Okay, any questions for Joe?
Well, I would, as you stated, now is the opportunity to bring things in compliance. The sidewalk looks a little not ADA friendly. Was there any talk about potentially making some repairs to the entryway sidewalk there, or?
It's something that could be addressed to the applicant as to whether or not they're planning on making any changes to that. I know that they thought they were able to put this on without PC approval and got going, and then were told they needed PC approval. So I don't know if that was something that was in their plans or not.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be another question. It looks like it's already there, right? So, and there's no change of use in the actual
No.
building itself. Okay, I guess I'll wait for the applicant.
Any questions for the applicant?
Just
is the applicant
whether or
here?
not they want to address that.
Could you come to the microphone, please?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
You're not making any other changes aside from an awning change?
No, and I apologize. I made the change without applying for a permit in the beginning. It was bad advice. I literally pull permits for a living, so I should have known better, but I was just trying to shed water away from the building.
Yeah.
I do have plans to fix the concrete, though, but it just didn't fall in this year's budget.
Okay, this is a side entrance, this isn't your main entrance, right?
It's not mine. It's my tenant in the rear.
So it's not a public's not actually using this sidewalk?
No.
Okay,
It's
but-
just, it's just a small piece of concrete in front of the door.
Yeah.
But I do plan on replacing it. I just didn't have it in the budget this year.
Okay,
Okay,
further questions?
thanks. No, that was my only question.
Anyone else, questions?
Do you have an issue with the barrier-free striping off?
What does that mean?
Like an ADA handicap spot, like a barrier, I would assume there's a certain distance from, I'm sure Nick can guide you on.
the geometry, it's just a matter of sign.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to put up a sign? I can do
I
that.
suppose so. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
striped blue or if there's a need to stripe it blue, but, yeah. Is that fine with you? That is part
Yeah, I
of the
can put up a
conditions?
handicap sign, sure.
Okay. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. If there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan application for 639 North Rochester Road with the condition that they add a barrier-free sign on the spot that's striped.
Support.
Motion, support, any other changes, additions? Seeing none, may I have roll call, please?
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
Mr. Tinlin?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
And Mr. Kucera?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8 is the text amendment application, Chapter 34, Article X, Section 3.1.S.2. Can someone translate that to English for us?
Yeah, I'll do my best. Yeah. got to get a file open here. All right. Yeah, so section 3.1.S.2 of the zoning ordinance, everyone knows it. This is part of the planned unit development section of our zoning ordinance. That's what establishes the ability to do a planned unit development and all the rules that go along with it. So, this text amendment was triggered by an application for that amendment made by Robertson Brothers Homes. The Zoning Enabling Act permits any person with an interest in property to petition for an amendment to the zoning ordinance. That usually takes the form of a change to the zoning map, but it can also take the form of a change to the zoning text. The act doesn't make a distinction between an amendment to the map and an amendment to the text. So they have a current application in for planned unit development approval for detached single-family residential at the former Shalom Elementary site. The amendment would be necessary for that project to be qualified and ultimately approved for a planned unit development. So the request is specifically to permit detached single-family housing in a planned unit development. The permitted uses in a PUD are set forth in that section 3.1.S.2. It's a paragraph. This is what you can do there. So what it says is, in a planned unit development, the principal uses which shall be permitted include all business, service, and professional office uses, all commercial uses, or any combination of these uses. Multiple family and single-family attached residential uses shall be permitted either by themselves or in combination with such commercial or office use. And to permit detached single-family uses, the paragraph would be modified to say, well, I'll just read the second sentence. Multiple family, single-family detached, and single-family attached residential uses shall be permitted either by themselves or in combination with such commercial or office use. So that is the request. Other things that you might think about while you're considering this, there are the applicable base regulations for planned unit developments. They do not, of course, cover single-family residential uses at the moment because they're not listed as a permitted use in the planned unit development. I provided a little thing at the end that you could consider adding that would just says single-family attached unit shall meet the standards of section 4.1 standards for detached single-family dwelling units. That's one thing that you might want to consider. And then because that's standards that would apply to any single-family home in town. So do you have any questions for me? Anything else you want to discuss? The applicant is here and can also answer questions.
So, Joe, it seems to me that the language in the PUD that we have now was probably thought through at the time, and it was intentional to leave out single-family detached. I don't see anything that's changed in the community since that was written, likely, that would make us think that it should be changed, other than someone came forward to ask for it. Mm-hmm. Would that be correct?
I mean, it's a built-out community. Not much changes dramatically over time. So, yeah, we do have someone who's requesting the change. And as far as what, the original drafting of the PUD ordinance, I don't know what the rationale was at the time. If it were to be amended, basically what that would do was any planned unit development that comes into Clawson, no matter where it is, because you can do a planned unit development in any district in Clawson, would be allowed to have single-family homes that are detached. Right now, you could do single-family homes that are attached. You could do townhomes or something like that, but not detached.
Joe, I did look back at the history of our PUD ordinance. The reason why they added residential at all is because they wanted to allow flexibility of use, which is the PUD ordinance. in essence, it's to allow a variance in exchange for a public benefit, creative design. The PUD intent is in direct conflict with actual residential, single-family R1, R2 zoning. So the reason why they brought in residential by way of multifamily was to get mixed use along our major thoroughfares, which is also a condition of the PUD. So just to answer a little bit of your question, I mean, I went back to 1980, 1970. It really, the reason why it didn't include single-family homes is because single-family, R1, R2 is where the intent of that is to protect the character of our neighborhoods, not to over densify that or bring commercial development into those areas. So I do agree that it was very much intentional.
So, Joe, I have a question. If we don't change the language in the PUD, where does that put the development of that property? Because the Board of Education spent a lot of time talking to citizens. They want single-family homes in that property. So what happens to the development strategy then?
You would switch to some sort of conventional plan that meets the current zoning. So I guess you'd probably wind up with, I don't want to get too much into the specifics of the plan itself because it's not what's on the agenda, but you would just have a normal layout with no alleyways and 42 lots instead of 44.
I think it's 32. Well, it depends on which ordinance they follow, because we've got lot split, R2, condo. There's like five different ordinances that they could apply at this, right?
I think R1 and R2 would be the only applicable.
But there's also the development of public non-residential property and residential zone. They could apply for the condominium developments, but they will, from what I read, the base regulations would apply there.
Yeah, R1, R2 regulations would apply in a condominium development, yes.
So, Joe, just another question on just the protocols. If we do approve this language changes, does it go to council for approval? Or, because the PUDs I know have a different, when we go through that process, there's a couple waves of approvals.
Your action tonight will be to make some sort of recommendation to council. You're going to recommend that they approve it, or that you're going to recommend that they deny it. One or the other.
Joe, this is not a PUD. This is a zoning amendment, which is essentially an amendment is an adoption of a new ordinance. So just to be clear, this would apply to every residential neighborhood in Clawson.
It would apply to any PUD that is proposed in Clawson.
Correct. Potentially allowing, as the applicant stated in their application, city center zoning mixed with residential R2 in neighborhoods.
Well, that would have to be approved by the city.
Correct. It's a door open.
But you could also apply for city center zoning in a residential neighborhood with the PUD now.
No, not with the
Sure, you
single
could.
family
It's
home
permitted
use.
in any district. You wouldn't be able to put single-family homes in it, but you could put all the other stuff that goes in city center. So
I would think that there's.
most likely it wouldn't be approved, but you could apply for it.
I just think opening the door to a commercial use in residential is the opposite of every ordinance we've written and every
But
master plan
that's not
that
what
we've
this
had.
amendment does. That's already something that someone could request under a planned unit development. This goes in kind of the other direction. It allows you to put a detached single-family home in a PUD, which could be done in any district in the city. So you already could propose a planned unit development that had a commercial element in it wherever you wanted to. You probably wouldn't be approved, but you can already propose that. It doesn't change how you might be able to
Well,
propose commercial uses in a PUD.
You're in a use that is single-family detached, same. When you're talking about uses, where do we have detached single-family homes?
We have detached single-family homes. Well, we have them in R1 and R2. We also have some that are hanging out in other districts because
Which
they're
is why the
historically
ordinance
there.
was there in order to
No.
put a mixed use there, not to bring a mixed use into R1 and R2.
Right, but
Correct.
again, you can already apply to do a mixed-use project in an R1 and R2 district. Again, I don't think it would be approved because it wouldn't be consistent with the master plan, et cetera, but you can already do that. You can already make that proposal in an R1 and R2 district.
There's an intentional, purposeful reason why our single-family detached, we'll call for public comment. Single-family detached homes aren't in residential. I also was reading about.
That's what residential is. Huh? That's what residential, single-family detached homes are in our residential districts. That's-
There's a reason why it's not in the PUD ordinance, is what I'm saying. I also was reading with Michigan State University, you guys refer to that often, about forming an ordinance and the purpose of an ordinance, and it seems like it's supposed to serve more of a public purpose than a individual purpose, like a community governmental purpose, in order to enact an ordinance. Is that correct, or?
I mean, a zoning ordinance is an ordinance that applies community-wide. So, again, the statute very clearly allows someone to propose a text amendment, and
Is it
I mean,
supposed to be
that's
for the
Michigan
benefit of
law.
one person and one developer, or is it supposed to be to the benefit to the whole community as a whole?
well, I mean, ultimately, it should be to the benefit of the community as a whole.
Okay.
And it's up to you to determine whether or not you think the request is to the benefit of the community as a whole.
Okay.
Any further questions of Joe? Would you like to hear from the applicant? Good evening.
Thank you. Good to see you all again. Tim Lockman with Robertson Homes, 6905 Telegraph Road, representing the developer. I just obviously want to make it very clear, we're not proposing any type of commercial and any type of residential community whatsoever. When we look at PUD ordinances, generally it's to add flexibility. That's for not just the developer, but also for the city, so you have control. It's completely, there's nothing by right. It's all discretionary. So all we're asking, I want to be extremely clear about this, all we're asking is to add essentially one word, detached, single family in a PUD. We're not adding anything else. We're not proposing any commercial, anything inside a residential community. And again, this is to add flexibility on your part as far as a PUD going forward. Completely discretionary. You approve this tonight, you could deny our plan. So I want to make that clear. I don't typically see excluding single family detached in a PUD. We do build in a lot of communities. Generally speaking, when you have a city which has mostly detached residential, they want to see potentially more of that, and maybe a mix of those could happen in a PUD. But having a detached single family as part of a scope of your PUD just gives you that additional flexibility that most communities want to see. So I think there's some confusion on what the proposal is. It's just to add detached single family in a PUD, and that's really it. I do have updates as far as the Shalom property, if that's something you'd like to see as well, because there were a lot of questions last time we were here. I think it's somewhat relevant to the request at hand. I did send a presentation to Joe and Nick, if that's something that you're willing to entertain me with. But specifically on the PUD, it's just to add essentially that one word to give you flexibility for all PUDs going forward. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
You just want to add the word detached.
That's it. That's all.
That's
When Joe and Nick had brought that to my attention about a month ago, I was very surprised, and we really all missed it. Very surprised that it wasn't in there. Because again, typically, it's all uses because you have that discretion, and nobody's going to get something approved without coming to you, and you're going to approve that exact plan. So you can either deny it or approve it. This gives you the opportunity to have single-family, which I think you would want in a PUD moving forward. So that's really the only thing we're asking
A lot of
for.
the confusion, I think, comes up with the words that we're using, because basically, what you want to do is you want to build houses there,
Correct.
individual houses, but you've referred to them as condominiums in the past for,
No matter what happens, if there was no PUD and we built under the existing zoning, which, by the way, I will confirm is 42 homes, we can build 42 homes
42.
with the existing zoning district without doing anything. Just coming to you, you'd have to approve it because it's 42 based on the existing zoning. No matter what, we do a site condominium. That there's nothing different from what I'm proposing to what somebody would propose with not even rezoning the property. That is how all communities are built now. It's built by a site condominium. It's not a condominium community as you'd normally think. It's a single-family community, but the only way to get that approved, because the state takes 3 years to approve a plat, you have to go through the site condominium process. You still own your lot. It's the exact same. There's no difference between that and a single family. There's no difference between our request and what somebody else could come in with the 42, conforming single-family lots, if you will. So I know it's confusing to hear condominium. They shouldn't have called it that, but it is truly single-family. You can't do single-family without doing a site condominium these days.
okay.
I guess I just have a point of clarification.
Yeah.
So in your presentation, will you have the updates to, I know we talked last time, you had a couple of changes that you were going away with, I think, to come back maybe with some changes, but also, will you be able to provide an update on what this may look like or what your plans may be, assuming that this specific language is not approved?
So I did include that. I don't have that in this presentation. I did include it with the previous one with what we call a parallel plan. Basically looks the
That
same.
was on one page, right?
It was one page,
Okay.
yes. And that wouldn't change. It's still 42 homes in that respect. We wouldn't upsize the storm detention like we're proposing. We wouldn't have the savings as far as the impervious surface that we're getting by having the alleys, because there's not the long driveways anymore. So you're going to lose out on a lot of those things, and those are the public benefits that we've been talking about. But nothing has changed from that respect. It's still 42 single-family homes in that parallel plan. But yes, I'd love to, present to you some of the, we've discussions with some of our neighbors along Elmsford, and I think we've had some good progress in a lot of those things. And for us, this is kind of a delay, because we've now not only got tabled last time, now we've got this meeting, then we've got 2 council meetings. So for me, it's a great opportunity to be able to show you what we've progressed on.
I just don't think that's appropriate at this time. Since we're deciding something that impacts the whole community, I don't think we should talk site-specific. This is an ordinance that
Yeah,
changes the whole community.
This is not a site plan.
Yeah.
approval, no.
I am the
It's an ordinance
applicant.
amendment.
I am the applicant. I think it's appropriate because it's
Well-
related to the request.
No, this is an ordinance
understand
amendment. So I don't think it's appropriate to go over a whole site plan when we're talking about changing the ordinance, which has been intact for, 60 years.
I don't think the PUD's been around for 60 years.
Yeah, 1970, 78, I believe it was. So, anyway.
I'm not 60
Years.
years. That's how I was born then.
Huh?
That made me
What's
feel
that?
really old because I was born in 76, so.
Well, around there, okay? I mean, I don't need to go exact, I'm not here with a calculator. I just don't think it's appropriate.
I don't know how everybody else feels, so.
So can we move the discussion just about the languages and what's
I
on the
would
agenda then?
prefer that, yeah.
Yeah, let's
that'd
hold
be
it to
good.
the language of the thing. Apparently, we haven't any problem with this before. We've had other PUDs in town. We've approved site plans for them. They've not requested single-family detached because they're not in the business of building homes, apparently. They're building apartment complexes with retail in them.
Right.
So this has never come up before, from my perspective.
And you haven't had a lot of development too, so
Right.
it happens as you get
Now
development.
we have a contractor that wants to build housing, so changing the word to the single-family detached is mandatory for you, right? Does your deal fall through if?
No, he just said he's built
You
42
won't.
homes.
I think we're proposing a superior development, and that requires the PUD to move forward, so.
It'll
yes.
limit you somewhat, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any further questions?
And we do have representatives from the school district to speak as well, if that's something that is beneficial.
Any,
Well, not for the applicant. I have discussion. I don't know if you want to do
Okay.
public comment?
Thank you.
or-
All right, thank you.
I don't know if anybody from the school board has anything to say, or can you bring anything to the party?
Do you want to open up for public comment?
I will, but I just thought, we'll get the business out of the way first.
Michael Frank, 1333 North Selfridge, School Board President. I'm sure you're aware, currently the school district still owns the property. Robinson, we have a agreement with them, but it's not finalized until they can get their plan approved. In all of our discussions with the community prior to doing our bond votes that the city approved both of them on were for single-family homes to get as many larger single-family homes that are different from what the 1,000 to 1,200 square foot, homes that are populating most of the city. Because as a school district, one of the problems we have is families get larger, they leave the district. So we have a turnover, we have young families, and we don't get the families to stay in Clawson, become long-term Clawson residents, raise their families here like they used to do years and years ago. Robertson presented in their proposal, was one of the reasons why the district chose them as the winner in our request for information on this, was their proposal maximized the space, the size of the homes for the potential growth in Clawson and the growth in Clawson school-age kids, which benefit not only the school district but the entire city. We get families to come and stay and live. It just helps the environment in Clawson. We're a city where people generally like to come and stay once they get here. But size of homes has been an issue with a lot of families. We've lost a lot of families because of that. And, Robinson's was the best presentation, what we felt was the best use of the property. And we support their plan. And, I understand that the PUD ordinance was put in 46 years ago. 46 years ago, there was really no open land in Clawson to build on. Nobody was building single-family homes in Clawson 46 years ago. It's very rare that a piece of property comes available that's like the size of Shawm that is available for single-family homes. There's been a lot of one-off builds. It houses some large lot splits that have led to some single houses, but we haven't had a large parcel of land available to do something like this. And as you said, Mr. Chairman, there hasn't been a proposal like this on a PUD.
No.
Ever, because the land hasn't been there. There hasn't been, a piece of land really that was suited to build a large number of single-family homes. And this gives us an opportunity to, welcome a lot of new families into our town. And I think the upside of the PUD with the larger detention pond, which addresses a problem most Clawson residents have, is with water and drainage and flooding issues, and less impervious land in the area. They're benefits to the community, not just to Robertson, not just the school district, but to the entire community. It helps everybody in the long run.
Thank you. I don't want to get too far into the site plan at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else in public wishing to opine?
Do you want to officially open public comment, or do we need to do that?
Okay, I'm now officially opening the public comment. And we have a public.
My name is Ron McCauley. I live at 1008 West Selfridge. I've lived here for almost 50 years, and I disagree with doing any waivers on letting this contractor come in and build houses. We've been that way for 50 years. Why should we give them a break to change the wording? That doesn't make any sense, just for one group of houses, because it's going to go all over the community, and then everybody's going to want to change this to the ordinance. So I disagree with that. I also sort of disagree with the school board president, because I think the people in Clawson are leaving not because of the size of the houses. I think they're leaving because of the size of the taxes you have to pay. We pay as much or more than Birmingham. So I don't think it's the size of the houses. If you build a 3,000 square foot house or a 1,500 square foot house, the taxes are pricing them out of the market here. So that's my opinion right now. And if I have any more, I'll come back.
Great, thank you. Anyone else in public?
Cheryl Dry, 779 Elmsford. I have a few different ways to go at this. One, we were here a month ago, and we were told this was a public hearing. We were also told that notice to the homeowners who were within 300 feet would get a notice by mail. Did not happen. There's no mention that this is a public hearing tonight online. I did see that there was something that went in the Royal Oak Tribune, but nothing online, nothing on the website. It's not even on the agenda tonight that it says public hearing. So there are homeowners in the immediate area who are not aware of this because they were not notified as we were promised we would be. And it's even in your bylaws that anyone within 300 feet is supposed to be notified. So that didn't happen. Just to be clear, there is no acceptable option other than detached single-family homes on that plot of land. That's it. That's what we were promised. That's what I think, I don't speak for everyone, that's what we want. Whether it needs to be a PUD is a completely different thing. If there's already R2 zoning there, there's no reason why they can't just go with R2 zoning. 42 homes would be much better than 44 if you live in the vicinity, if you are like the house behind plot number 1 on the 44 plan, where you're gonna get a house right in your backyard. There's still gonna be a detention pond, so there are other options. That parallel plan could work. So I guess what I'm just trying to make sure that we are all looking at something that is gonna look like a community that it surrounds, or that surrounds it. And with alleys and a very close density of homes, that is not gonna achieve what we want. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure, Nick.
I just wanted to directly answer the question about the public hearing notice. So the notice for the text amendment, because it's just a general amendment to the ordinance, and there's not a specific property associated with the text amendment, whether it's this type of application or another one, there's not a notice sent out to 300 homes within 300 feet because it's not directly tied to a parcel in development. So the public hearing notice that would go out to homes within 300 feet of the PUD would happen at the next stage of the process. If it got to that point. So the public noticing for this as required is just to be posted on the city website and in the local newspaper. So I think there might have been just some confusion on what type of public hearing notice was supposed to go out. This one does not have a 300-foot radius because that would just be the entire city because that's what the ordinance is for.
So legally, unless it's coming up in front of us as a site plan approval, it doesn't have to be notified?
Correct, to any specific home because it doesn't directly affect a certain property. This is the ordinance as a whole.
But I would tend to agree with her that I didn't see it. It's hard to find on the city page that there's a public meeting tonight.
Or on the agenda.
I saw on Facebook, some resident posted it's a public forum tonight.
It's not on the agenda,
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't seem very clear to us. I understand we're not going to mail it out to everybody in the neighborhood, but I think it should be posted somehow with the city that the people are a little bit more aware of what's going on here.
Yeah, it was posted on the Minutes on Demand portion of the website under our Public Notices tab, and also in the Planning Commission packet, it does indicate that the chair should open a public hearing.
Yeah, I knew that. I can see that in my thing, but they don't know that.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
it is posted for everyone.
That's where the catch is. I think.
So do we
And we
need to
fixed the thing with
change
the
how
si-
we
fixed
write
the
our
thing with the
agendas?
signs. Remember, now we're putting signs up.
Well, this didn't
Construction.
apply to the signs either, but
Right.
so text amendment is very ambiguous. Nobody even knew what it was for.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you are correct that legally they didn't have to
Yeah,
post.
and it was included in the packet. The public hearing notice that was in the paper was also included as, in that for your review.
My preference would be a little bit more transparent, but I guess it is what it is. So,
I just wanted to answer a question on the process of sending notices.
Right. Thank you. And public again.
My name is Ginny Sham, and this is my little dog Karma, and we live at 1046 West Selfridge Boulevard here in Clawson. We, as residents of the city of Clawson, have money to do something about our roads. This is an adjacent thing that we need to be aware of and have on our radar, that the trucks going in and out of the demolition site have taken apart lots of roads. They're way too heavy for our residential roads, and this is going to continue with whatever is constructed there. And so I just want on our radar that we need to think about this. And instead of using the money, even a penny of our bond money, for fixing roads, we need to charge both the demolition crew and the construction crew for the repair of the roads that they have already damaged and may damage in the future. Thank you. Just keep it on the radar so we don't run into a money problem.
We'll try.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good evening. Ted Werner, 760 Shenandoah. I'm also a school board member, treasurer, and in the facility committee for the school board. I think Michael spoke very eloquently about the board and how we feel about that and what we've done regarding this development. I just wanted to touch bases what he mentioned about the taxes. 42 or 44 more homes in our city is going to help with our taxes. If we can add more homes, we're going to reduce our taxes. That's more money going into the big pot. So to maximize that space, I think, is what's important. Whether it's the 42, 44, or 46, Robertson Brothers have developed a wonderful plan. I think it was well thought out, and it looks good for the development, and also single-family detached homes fits in the neighborhood. So as a resident, I've heard a lot of pros and cons. I'm saying at 760 Shenandoah, we're in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ann Mundy. I'm at 691 West Elmwood. And I never heard anything about the plans for the school, from the school district in the first place. I went to the school offices to try and find out, and they didn't have any information at that time. But I haven't received any notices. I heard about a couple meetings from friends. And I live right across the street, so. So I understand, I talked to Nick today about the notifications, and he said that would be coming up with the public hearings. But I'm wondering if this goes through, okay, this detention pond, or it's called, they have retention and detention, and I guess that's two different meanings on their proposal. That's going to be right across the street from my house. And it said that it's a detention pond would, the rainwater would stay on top and evaporate. So I don't know how long it would take with, a couple inches of rain, but. And then for condominiums, usually like the water and sewer is paid for through the association. I don't know if those would be separate with the separate homes. The landscaping, if it shows some along between the sidewalk and curb, is that going to be taken care of by the city or the developer or the association? There's a gas pipeline along Elmwood, and I think it's between the sidewalk and curb, but I don't know if Nick knows.
They might be better questions
Yeah.
for when we go over a site. Today, we're not doing site
Okay.
plan.
Okay, but some of those are big concern.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a lady I saw on the, I never had problems with flooding in my basement, but there's been a lot of neighbors that have in that area. And then they'll be adding their homes onto the same combined sewer.
That will be looked at in much closer detail when we
Okay.
actually get to the site plan approval.
And then there's no place, I didn't see anything that talked about where the garbage pickup would be, if that's separate, in the separate homes, if the garbage trucks are gonna be able to get in and out of there. And if there's room for the fire trucks or something, if that's needed. Because the streets are narrow, and they're also made of asphalt, so
Those are all important questions.
Okay.
We will go through those in detail
Okay.
at the site
Okay.
plan.
all right.
Thank you.
Hi again, Tim Quinn, 656 Selfridge Boulevard. I had so much fun earlier, I thought I'd come back. Not quite sure where to start. With all due respect to the school board president, I've lived in this city for 60 years now. I grew up in a 900 square foot home with 6 people in it. And the Clawson schools at that time didn't seem to have any problem. I'm not sure the size of the houses is going to make our schools any better. If anything, I'd be concerned about somebody who's going to probably spend, I'm guessing, $500,000 or more for a home. If they can afford that, I'm not sure they want to send their kids here, with all due respect. I think the school has more issues other than the size of homes. So I wanted to address that. The reason I'm here, some of my neighbors and I had talked. There were some flyers that were sent out regarding the new development at the Shalom location. And I've had some concerns. I was disheartened when they tore down the school. I'm going to miss seeing kids going to the school with their parents and walking the neighborhoods. It kind of gave us that small town feel, and I think we've lost a lot of that. But that's water under the bridge. I understand developers want to develop that property, and I can appreciate that, and I'm sure they want to use every square foot and, make it as profitable as possible for themselves. I get that too. But I am concerned with the proposed development. I believe this is the same developer that did the Normandy golf course area. So I got in the car today because I wanted to go check it out for myself, because I had heard a lot of things about alleyways and things of that nature. And when I drove around, the first thing that struck me was how close these homes are, how little yard they had in the front. The alleys, when I drove around the back where the garage access was located, it was like a, 8 or 9 foot, and I didn't get out to measure, but it was a pretty high fence that went all the way across. You could not see any of the backyard. All you saw was garage, fence, garage, fence. And it just didn't look very aesthetically pleasing. If I'm going to develop in a existing community, I would expect that the developer, or I would hope, would kind of acclimate to the area and what's already there. And what I saw, nice looking and everything, but it surely didn't fit my neighborhood on Selfridge. And I'm sure it doesn't fit the other neighbors on the other side. So I guess I'm concerned about the alleyways. I'm also concerned, I noticed in front on the street, there was no parking because of fire lane on the one side. And there were cars parked all the way down the other side. And I'm trying to think, boy, if these people have guests or friends, they're going to have a hard time finding places to park. Well, that's going to end up going into the neighborhoods, I'm guessing. A couple days ago, there was an event at the field, so I went down to check it out and see what was going on. And there was a football game going on. And I had a hard time turning off of Baker to go to the football field because I couldn't see because there were so many cars parked down the streets now because they used to park at Shawm, and they can't now. So there's a lot of concerns that I have. I haven't actually looked at the proposed site plan to make a judgment,
Yeah,
but
we're still early in the game here at
okay.
this point.
But if it's anything like what I saw in Royal Oak, I'd be concerned. So I would hope that they acclimate to the existing area. Thank you.
Thank you. You're not public.
So public. Good evening, everyone in front of me and all of you behind me. Good job on supporting things that are important to you. My name's Paula Milan. I live at 445 Darby Court, and I do have the pleasure of serving as mayor of this community. I'm here today for one real reason. All of the things people say are valid on every side. The development is fine. I drive by the Normandy place every day. I will agree with what Mr. Quinn just said. I would hope that a development that we would want to put here that we're hoping people will aspire to come and stay here would be more than that. That's just my personal opinion, but that's not why I'm wanting your time. I'm here to say I'm so concerned with the fact that Clawson is so desirable right now. We're seeing a lot of development, and we're seeing a lot of PUDs come through, and we're making exceptions for ourselves left and right, and I think that's something we need to consider, and I hope you guys, as our first line of defense, would consider that when you're making decisions. I think it's really important that we protect the assets that we have, because we have very limited assets, and I know there was a comment about there hasn't been a lot of development here because there just hasn't been an opportunity, which is why you guys getting this right is even more important, because we don't have a lot of opportunities. So I would caution you for the PUD in this situation. I think changing language for one person is not necessarily a great way to go. This project could go through the other way. Whichever you do is fine, of course. We're going to support the developer, whomever they are. But I would just like to caution you as the body that you guys are making difficult decisions, and make sure you're doing them because you want to, and not because they're being introduced in a way that makes you think you don't have a choice, because you guys have the choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Linda Hale, 940 West Selfridge. And when you were talking, I heard the word conventional. I like that idea, where it wasn't, was not the PUD, but a conventional way to do it. I think that's the better way to go. But first off, I wanted to say that thank you, Paula, and everybody else who spoke, that Shawm, that property itself is residential. It's zoned residential, and it's pretty much the heart of our neighborhood, right? It's adjacent to the park, it's a popular place, and the streets like Elmwood, Bywood, Selfridge, they're not the same as like Normandy or 14 or 15 or Main Street or Crooks or Rochester Road. That's where this project should go if it's going to be the exception, going to have the PUD in the smaller lots and the alleyways. Alleyways don't belong in our town under any circumstances, I don't believe. And I don't think that we should allow them, and I don't think that we should be changing our ordinances to accommodate a builder. I believe, just like Paula said, we have a lot of people that want to come into this town. And I think that the R2 ordinance, which is residential zoning, was meant to protect us and protect all of our citizens and protect us residents from exactly what this company is proposing. And I mean, no offense, I know that they're going to build houses, and that's fine. We expect that they're going to build houses. But they want to change things already. They want to go against our ordinances, and I have to follow the ordinances. I couldn't have a fence around my property because I'm a corner lot. I had to follow the city ordinance. So I really take exception to anybody, and just because they're a contractor or a builder, maybe they have more money than me, you shouldn't change the language to accommodate somebody else. That ordinance was put in place to protect us. And I'm sure that they can make nice houses. They have an alternate plan. Go with the alternate plan. And, really, when you stop and think about it, when we had the meeting before and the developer showed us what their plan was, they didn't really listen to what the residents were saying. When the residents said something about, well, we don't like alleyways, or what about the small lots? At that time, they said, well, we're going to have 42 houses, and you'll have good-sized lots. And now, all of a sudden, they slipped in a couple more houses. So, I mean, if you make a PUD for them, what other exceptions are they going to make? I know that the final approval is up to you, but I hope that you will just follow our regular ordinance. And if they don't want to follow the rules, find somebody who will. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else in public? See a hand back there.
Hi, my name is Susan Watts. I live at 927 North Selfridge, directly across from Shalom, and been there 30 years. I do have a heart for the city and what goes on here. I pay taxes like everybody else pays taxes. And what I would like to address is at the first meeting that we had a month ago, the builders are asking for variances. They want this variance, they want that variance. And one of the issues that I had was that they were asking for a variance in height. And so that basically they can put two more dormers there and put a window in there and have two more bedrooms. So what would be normally a 3 or a 4 bedroom house, advertised single family home, 3 or 4 bedrooms, that it would then become additional bedrooms, so it would become a 5 or a 6 bedroom house. Now, if those people are of driving age, where are they going to park? The layout does not seem to fit the aesthetics of the community. I am concerned about the rain and the runoff. There's already a lot of flooding on Selfridge Boulevard there, and I'm not quite sure why there were 2 retention ponds on the initial plan, and now that there's only 1. I don't know if there's basements to these places, but I definitely am against all of the variances that they're asking to, as if we have to kowtow to all of that to have a city within a city. It's going to be a HOA. And I think the whole idea of trying to cram in and ask for more variance so that they can cram in more people and block out the sun for the people on Elmsford, It just seems like to be an awful lot. I think it's too much to ask, if you ask me. There's a lot of other places maybe they could be spending their time looking to build. Why do they want to come to this one spot? We sat here a few years ago, Jimmy John's wanted to come in and take the baseball fields. Why? We had just done the major infrastructure around Shalom. That's all been updated. So to me, I think that may be one of the reasons why they want that spot. But I think 42 homes is way too many. If you look even on Google Maps, 32 it should be a max of any homes that go in there, as far as keeping with the neighborhood size and the lots of what's around there, whether it's Highland and Baker or Shenandoah and Langley. You look every way. There's nothing that has 42, 43, 45, however many they can cram in there to be a little city within a city. And I think the amount of houses they're asking for is way too much. I really don't want to go down Selfridge. It's the layout that they are proposing looks pretty tacky. You go down Selfridge and you're going to be looking at alleyway, and those are private alleyways, mind you, is my understanding. And I think that's kind of a tacky thing. And then the parking issues and the water runoff. There's no green spaces left. If you were to ask me what I would like to see, I really miss the kids being, having to have a place to walk to school, like that small town feel that we always like. I grew up in Huntington Woods. They have a recreational center there. They do a lot throughout that. Everything's kind of connected there, and there, banquets happen there. Things that they rent rooms out. If this is Clausen's opportunity to take a prime piece of real estate there and add to the centralization of everything that goes on in the city park, the baseball fields and the football and the parking. Personally, I would like to see something like, I don't know how that will go down the line, but because it's going to cost more money, but we seem to be vote for everything for more money anyway in this town. It just goes up for a special election, or it just costs more every year. Our taxes just keep going up. What I would like to see is like a community center, a recreational center that the whole area can use.
I think you get a little detached here. This is
Sorry.
not city-owned property. This is privately.
I understand that, but
I
I don't understand why it's not city property. Why they don't want to sell to the city? It wasn't
Because the city's
an
not,
opportunity.
in the business of building things, so we don't want to buy the property.
I think they tried, it just wasn't, it's more of a city council, I think, question, because they're the
think
money.
I just think we're getting a little offline. It's interesting. I hope that the builders hear what the public is saying here. They're getting opinion feedback from this. But what we're looking for tonight is simply a text amendment. Down the line, when this comes in front of us for a site plan, everybody will be notified, and everybody's going to come here then. These details are more detail-oriented then.
Yes.
Than they're at this point in time.
I just wanted to make my voice heard so that
Obviously,
it's something that everybody can keep in mind and look at. It's a jewel of a city spot there, and I think it should be utilized in the best fashion that's appropriate and to the rest of the buildings and homes in our city.
I agree with you, dude.
Okay, thank you.
If the young fellow earlier, if he would have had his way, would have turned it into a dog park, but. Yeah, you left that out of your list. Okay. Anyone else in public?
Michael Frank, 1333 North Selfridge. I just wanted to, come up and address the fact that we're here for the text amendment on the PUD.
Right.
There's been a lot of discussion about the proposal from the builder, a lot of conflicting information from people on what they remember from different presentations they saw. A lot of people obviously didn't read the 2023 bond amendment that they voted yes for that included the removal of the building at the Shalom site. So there's a lot of people who are, were surprised that it was torn down. It disturbs me that people don't read what they vote yes on ballots. But that's neither here nor there. This is about the PUD and the text amendment and whether Clausen will ever allow single-family detached homes at a PUD. This isn't about Robertson. This isn't about the Shalom site specifically. This is about the PUD ordinance and whether or not Clausen ever wants single-family detached homes to be an option on a PUD. And that's what you're here to decide. Everybody has their opinion on that, but it's up to this body to make that decision. And I just wanted to refocus what we're all here for is the text amendment and
Correct.
That decision, not the site plan. Everything else is a whole different meeting, discussion, public forum. All that is for down the road. This is only for the PUD text amendment.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Fred Watts. I live at 927 North Selfridge. I originally wasn't going to come up here, but I heard somebody on the left here say that it's going to reduce our taxes. And I wonder if I can get that in writing before we leave tonight. Is it possible?
Ask
The mayor's here.
Ask the person who said it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy. The more homes, our tax value goes into
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't want to get into a contest here,
Okay.
but when the president of the school board has meetings, you go to it and you can't get answers back from anybody on the board because that's not allowed. But here you can come and ask people what their opinions are and get answers. And if what I voted on that I didn't read good enough is a fault of the school board for not making it clear to the citizens what the money was going to be used for and how they were going to use it. If they diverted from what they said in that plan, then they're in trouble.
Okay. Thank you. Again.
It's Ginny, Sham, and Karma again. I want to say, we told you so. We came for 3 years and said, let's make this part of the park. If we had done that, none of this meeting would have existed.
Thank you. A dog park, probably. Anyone else in public? Seeing none, I will then close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to deny the text amendment application to Chapter 34, Article X, Section 3.1.S.2, on the basis that it does not meet the goals of the master plan or zoning plan, deters away from the importance of our ordinance and master plan goals to protect the character of our neighborhoods. We have multiple ordinances in place to address the development within single-family homes, detached homes. It does not accomplish a community goal or benefit. There is a risk of over-densifying neighborhoods and connecting incompatible uses. And I don't see an overall community benefit to the ordinance outside of serving this site.
Second.
I have a motion and I have support. Any further comments? And we're in deliberation, or have we beat the horse enough? I'll take roll call, please. And this is a vote to deny the text amendment application.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
Mr. Tinlin?
No.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Kucera?
No.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, motion passes. The text amendment is denied. Correct?
Just for your awareness, this does go to City Council with the recommendation of denial from the Planning Commission.
Yeah, but we don't have the final say in it. We just.
Right, your
we
recommendation is
didn't
to deny
approve.
the
Now it goes
application.
on to mayor and council for their decision.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, public, for all the wonderful input on that. And now we'll move on to agenda item number 9, which is zoning ordinance amendment, standards for short-term rentals. And there goes our audience.
It's empty now.
I'll let the room clear a little bit before we get going.
It just seems like it's 10 o'clock.
Is it 14? Yes.
Okay, so, Planning Commission has on and off been discussing short-term rentals for quite a while now. Ever since council adopted an ordinance governing their licensing and operation in the city a few years ago. So the zoning amendment that's in front of you now is sort of a complement to the general ordinance that governs the licensing and operation of those units. This amendment adopts the short-term rental definition that was placed in that general ordinance so that the two ordinances match in terms of what specifically they are talking about in terms of the use. The standards that we came up with for short-term rentals are, of course, all embodied here, and they speak to some additional operational regulation of those units, notification to guests about certain codes and ordinances, that the neighbors are not, vacationing themselves, and then contact information for a local agent and local police. It requires that parking be accommodated on site within a garage or on a paved driveway. It requires a fenced rear yard, and then it requires that these units meet the other regulations of the short-term rental unit ordinance. The districts that the Planning Commission identified to permit this use match the districts in which hotels are permitted, BRD2, B3, and I1. And that's the summary of what you have in front of you. If there's any discussion or questions, now is the time.
One specific question.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was traveling for work, missed a few meetings. Can you remember which of our meetings, I thought I watched them all, that this council or this planning commission provided you the recommendations? Because I would be curious if you knew that offhand.
Oh, I feel like it was the first meeting in September.
Okay.
I believe.
Just for my own records.
I believe, because I think it was the second meeting in September where we looked at the final ordinance and said, yes, we're moving forward to a public hearing with this version of the ordinance. And then the public hearing wound up falling tonight, but
Could have been the second.
it might have been the second in
It says that our
August,
first
yeah.
meeting, the first meeting in August was like a joint meeting, so it could have been right after that.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
'Cause
Yeah.
I attended the joint meeting.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
It's
But
going
I
to be
don't
one of the
remember-
August or September meetings. Yeah.
I apologize. I just wanted to make sure I went back and double checked the
Mhm.
notes from that one.
So do we open it for public comment too, right?
Correct.
'Cause, okay,
So we can have discussion after.
sorry.
We can have discussion after.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see public on my list of things.
This is a public hearing.
This is a public hearing, so yeah.
It doesn't say anywhere in my paperwork.
It does say in the.
It does say, yeah. Public hearing notice on, it's page 26, it will say.
Oh, public hearing shall be opened by the chair, okay. How do we feel about what we're doing here? Do we think we have enough teeth in this ordinance? I'm hoping the other people up here watched that video of the Oakland County meeting. I watched it, it was over an hour or so, but it was Ferndale and Waterford. Very, very informational stuff. Waterford is a lot different than us. They've got water and lakes and boats that we don't have to deal with. Ferndale's a little bit closer. And Waterford seems to want to go to Ferndale and just steal their codes, just copy what they have and change the name to it. And I think we should follow that closely too. They said they have 70 short-term rentals in Ferndale, and they probably got 300 applications on the books. So this is something that's coming our way. I can see it if it's that far in Ferndale. I don't know how many we have now. I think the city's aware of 7 or 8, I think is. I know we have more than that, and you can see it. It's going to be coming. This is I wouldn't say it's a fad, but people are finding out that if you can buy a house and rent it for X amount of dollars, you can buy that house and open it as Airbnb and make a lot more income from it. So I can see it being a prosperous business. So I'm concerned that we have our ducks in a row here. I think a $250 application fee, and I would like to have inspections done with these things. I don't know if that's on our.
Well, that's all the general ordinance stuff. It's not zoning.
Joe, did you say
fees
we
and-
could make a recommendation for council
Yeah, and in
to look at
fact,
that?
the memo includes the recommendation of an annual 10 license cap.
Right. That's what I wanted to clarify with my discussion piece too, was
Yeah.
when we had the joint discussion, they had asked, no offense to council, kind of put it on our plates to come up with recommendations for them. So they kind of put it on us. And at that point, I know that there was a couple things missing that are kind of just vaguely mentioned. I think, the cap is important, but it also, we need to take into account the current number of active licenses. And we also had discussion about, do we add one every year, or how do we want to manage like a long-term growth strategy with that? And same thing, density standards isn't addressed yet. So if we want to make a recommendation to council, I would strongly suggest that we go back and add that, because that was a big point of discussion during the joint council meeting.
The density standard came out after our last discussion because of the districts in which the use was located. The density standard spoke to residential blocks. So with the use being relegated to the BRD 2, B3, and I1, that became a less relevant item, and the decision was made as a group to take that particular item out.
Did you include I know it's only just a, hey, can you look at it, but potential like Greg was saying, an inspection, were you talking about interior inspections or just exterior? Like,
I see them as commercial entities, and I think we should enforce the rules that way, that for public safety, we should be able to access the inside of these buildings and make sure that they're safe.
they meet fire codes, those kinds of things,
My
right?
understanding now is we don't do that with places.
It's exterior only right now.
Yeah, we do a drive-by, we look at the outside and that's it, but and that's, I think it's, if you're selling the house or you're renting a house to somebody, that's one thing, but this is, I see it more as a commercial entity. You can have a lot of different people coming and going in it, and I think, because I see it as commercial, I think we should enforce violations stronger. I think we should have internal, make sure there's smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors,
Fire extinguishers, all those.
egress
yeah.
windows, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
For public safety reasons.
And Joe, did we put in a recommendation for the city council penalties for unauthorized operations?
Those already exist in the general ordinance.
Are they small though, like nothing, or $5, or is it
No,
500
you
a
can-
day, or?
The concern we talked about the most was that if there's a certain number, you pull the license, and it doesn't seem like it's being done on one property, if you recall. So I don't know, there was a conversation to go back with administration to look specifically at that.
If I'm just talking, I know the ones that are currently in the residential areas will be grandfathered, right? But what happens if
Other
we
zoning,
restrict
yeah.
them to these zones, but they still continue activity in the residential areas?
They would continue
How much
until they
teeth are in the ordinances to
cease.
stop that operation from
Yeah.
continuing?
I mean, if they wound up with the requisite violations to have their license pulled, then they'd just be done, because now they're not operating anymore.
I'm in the context they don't have a license in the first place, which some of them sound like they don't have anyway.
Well,
right?
yeah,
So
I mean, that's
what would be
probably
the legal
true,
course
yeah.
then, right? They're just going to still operate, and the ordinance doesn't matter?
Well, I mean, I'm not really in the enforcement business,
Oh, no.
but.
But what's the ordinance currently say, though? If you have an unlicensed operation of an Airbnb, if we restrict it to the different zones, what's the legal course?
Legal opinion.
Here comes our legal counsel, so.
Good evening. Mr. Tinley, the ordinance states under G, the violation of any aspect of this section shall be deemed responsible, the person shall be deemed responsible for admissible civil infraction and fined no more than $500 per occurrence.
Okay.
Which means per day, according to law, just so for your awareness.
So that's for somebody who's unlicensed.
Yeah,
correct?
that would be a violation of that particular ordinance, but that's not limited to that. There could be any violation of the ordinance. Right.
Thank you.
Of course.
And do we have an application fee right now?
$80.
$80?
I believe that number was used because that's the current application fee for a regular rental. So that's why it was just carried over.
We're into the market. Ferndale's charging $250 for a year.
Well, they probably
They've
do
also been on
more.
top of the short-term rentals. I believe they set in that for at least 3 or 4 years, if not a little bit longer.
They seem to
So they're
know
a
what
bit
they're
ahead of the
doing,
game.
yeah.
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 And that's the same type of inspection, right? Like as a regular, you do the same inspection on the exterior as you would in another rental, so it.
Correct. They
Yeah,
are
okay.
inspected and the fee is the same. It's just the certification's different for a regular rental to short-term.
Okay,
So if we looked at the interiors, we'd have to charge more.
probably, but that's council, right? Like they would consider that with
That's
the
correct,
recommendation.
yeah. They
Okay.
set their fees by resolution.
Yeah, I saw you taking notes, Joe, so you took that note that I agree that I think the interior should be inspected,
did take
especially
that
for
note,
these, okay?
Yep. Yes, that will be added to the memo as a recommendation.
Do you want me to make a motion for, I make a motion for open?
I'll open in public. Does anybody else have any, does
Okay.
anyone else have any questions for Joe right now? or we're all
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do I need to make a motion for public comment?
We've always opened it with a call
Okay,
of the chair.
that's what I thought.
Okay. I will now at this point open it for public discussion. Is there anyone here from public wishing to opine on short-term rentals? Seeing none, I will then close public comment on it. And do we need a motion on this
Yeah.
to approve the amendment?
Approve or recommend approval, or recommend to council approval. And then I would ask just for clarity, so your recommendations to city council is abundantly clear the items that you'd like to see them address in the actual short-term rental ordinance. That's not part of the zoning. So the items like the interior inspections, any potential change to the fee structure, I would make that very clear in the motion as well. That way, when it's presented to council, they're aware. Yeah, and the cap, just a handful of ones that we've caught that the board has mentioned.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain
Okay, I will make a motion to approve and recommend to City Council the zoning ordinance amendment for standards for short-term rentals to include a recommendation for, did we say yearly interior inspections, to look at annual caps and ensure that they're meeting all fire and safety codes. Am I missing anything? Anybody want to amend it?
Yep, those are my three.
I think the inspections covers the annual fire, the fire and safety.
Okay.
And then was your cap 10? I would put that in the motion.
Oh, was that what you were talking, Josh?
Yeah, I
The
think
10?
that's what they should.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so an annual cap of 10%.
10
10,
units.
oh, 10, okay, 10.
10 licenses.
Sorry. Yeah. It's been a long day. Annual cap of 10.
Motion, is someone?
Second.
That's supported. Ferndale has on there, it says that occupancy is limited to 8 people. In which case, I think that would prevent a lot of big parties.
Occupancy here would be limited, correct me if I'm wrong, Rennis, but occupancy here is limited by the fire code.
Only so many people per square feet?
It's so many people per room, per bedroom, yeah.
Okay, I would think that's thrown in strictly to keep these wild blowout parties going on, you know? So I don't know if you would want to, but apparently it's controlled already, but.
Per bedroom.
Per
I
bed.
don't speak outside of that. It's limited per bedroom by 2 individuals per bedroom, so it's preparing a little.
2 per bedroom, okay.
Is that,
It's already limited, so you wouldn't have to add that to your,
you don't want to amend it to that?
it's already
Okay,
already there.
okay.
So I have motion, I have support, no further comments?
I have, sorry, discussion
Sure.
points, just because, and I apologize again, as I was not present when you guys must have re-met after the joint discussion to kind of flesh out some of these details. So maybe this, I mean, anyone who was part of that conversation can just clarify for me where we decided on the specific zoning, right? I feel like I know that we intentionally probably put it in certain areas we felt comfortable, but my preference, and I just want this for the record, I suppose, would be that like city center and there's other zones that I feel like it's applicable as long as we had density standards. But was there a rationale that you guys came to on not wanting to do something like that?
Well, because when we looked at the language of the use of hotels, motels, and that commercial usage, that's the zones that those are allowed in.
So those 3 zones today.
Right, and I don't
the
think
ones that
that
are
necessarily
hotel usage, okay.
Planning Commission would be against, but for consistency purposes, in that it was a commercial use of a transitory nature, we decided to follow the guide of, motel, hotel uses. Not to say that, that can't be a discussion point in the future about, those happening in city center, because I think we would all agree with you, but we want to be consistent is all, from my recollection.
Okay. So there's interest to pass this sooner, with recommendation to do this sooner, and then possibly revisit in the future? Is what you're talking about, additional zoning?
Well,
Or is this rationale?
this is just me. We didn't go this deep in it, but I think that if we're gonna follow the use, then maybe in the future, talking about opening city center for those type of uses. Hotel motel is a more transitory use that I think that, at least me, I would feel comfortable with maybe allowing it to happen in city center, right? So does that answer your question, I guess?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just more curious on the rationale, and I think
Yeah.
it does help. to understand where you guys decide on those three specifically. Because when I'm just looking at it, it looks a little obscure, but I didn't know the zoning for hotel usage, for instance.
Right.
Off the top of my head, so thank you.
Either did we.
All right.
Okay, we good? I'll, entertain you have the motion, right? And support.
So I had the motion to approve the language, recommend city council adopt it with, I had two recommendations, which is to add interior inspections yearly and an annual cap of 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to double check. Mr. Sol, good? We're good? Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Solomon?
I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Tinlin?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Cusero?
Yes.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
And Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item number 10 is update on the master plan. Master plan, the gift that just keeps giving.
Our next meeting is going to be focused on that. You didn't receive the draft yet, but you will this week, so.
Promise.
Okay.
And on that note, if you were all able to read the cover letter, at this point, that would be the only agenda item for the November 26th meeting. So Joe and I would request that you'd modify that meeting from a regular meeting to a workshop so we can just meet in the back community room like we did last time to have more of a collaborative conversation on it. I know the feedback from the individuals who attended last time felt it was really productive and we accomplished a lot. And so would see if the planning commission would be open to making a motion to, I guess, restructure that regular meeting to a workshop.
What date would that be?
That would still be November 26th, so the date doesn't change, so it's the fourth Tuesday of the month. And maybe just for timing purposes, maybe have it be 7 PM, but you're the planning commission, you'll make that motion, hopefully.
Can I ask a question real quick, Nick?
Yeah.
Is there any urgency with the passage of the marijuana proposal that we need to start doing that sooner rather than later?
That is why our legal counsel is here.
Oh, so there will be an update. So you would let us know if that's something that we should build into the...
Yes, I guess I don't think we'll have to have a discussion on that this soon.
Okay.
But maybe in the motion, just have the meeting be flexible to be a workshop instead of a regular meeting.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. I just didn't know
Okay.
if we needed to get that on, I guess I'll wait for a legal update. So yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion if everybody's okay to have our November 26th meeting as a workshop at 7 PM. Is everybody okay with the 7 PM?
Okay. Second. Sure.
Okay.
For discussion, can we get the packet or the master plan draft
Yeah,
much earlier than we typically
Joe
do?
said he should have it done this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess just because over the weekend isn't enough time for me to be able to.
Yeah, of course. We'll definitely try and get that to you as soon as possible with at least a week plus ideally for time to review it.
And I hate making a lot of work for Joe, so hopefully this isn't, but just some outline of the deltas would be good.
Somebody already supported me, right? Did you support
I did.
Josh?
I got
Okay.
Sullivan
okay.
for the second.
Roll, please.
Mr. Tinlin?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Cusero?
Yes.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
And Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a planner's report this evening?
Oh, that was kind of it, actually.
That was pretty much all together. Okay. And we move on to staff report and training opportunities.
I guess I'll just first touch on the one item that Chair Cusero already brought up. That short-term rental workshop that was hosted by Oakland County, I thought was fantastic. I thought there's a lot of good information to pull from both communities as they're both very different from Clawson and each other, but there's aspects I think that we can try and take and pull to maybe tweak to make it more effective for our own ordinances. So I think, I'm getting some nodding heads that they felt it was beneficial. There aren't any other major training opportunities coming up right now. And then regarding updates on development, The Culver site over at 1331 West Maple continues to make good progress. Like in any development, they encounter hiccups here or there, but we're able to work through them. The 502 South Main, they're nearing completion as well and are hoping to get a certificate of occupancy soon. Other than that, I don't have any specific updates, but would be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any idea what the food is at Vigilantes?
Not yet.
Not yet. I just heard he's a chef moving in, but I didn't see any type.
Correct. Still very preliminary in the planning stage, but it seems like he's going to be the occupant there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any questions for? All good? All good.
Thank you.
Thank you. How about a legal update?
Good evening. I plan to give you a detailed legal update with respect to the question that was fielded. Unfortunately, we have to be a little coy about it. We have recently, as of today, there's some litigation on the matter. Clausen was just received a lawsuit where we were named dealing specifically with the issue. We'll be obviously defending the lawsuit. It places us in an interesting situation. Basically, the scope of the lawsuit is to make a determination, to get a determination whether the voted upon marijuana charter amendment will take effect or not. We'll have more to say on that issue after we obviously get in the matter in the case and have an opportunity to review it appropriately and fully. And obviously we'll inform both counsel, and I'll make sure that you also receive it as well. For all intents and purposes, I do not believe that there will be a need to have a meeting to deal with zoning with some immediacy. I think time will not necessarily be a factor in the just immediate vicinity of this meeting. So I think we'll get you more information as time goes on.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please.
That means that though it was voted on, that charter amendment will not take effect until the outcome of this case that you're referring to, correct?
I would imagine, I would speculate that you're correct about that.
Did I do all right with Robert's Rules of Order this evening?
I'm getting ever closer.
Public got a little loud there, but I tried to.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is any other comments from anybody up here want to say anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, and for the record, it's not 10 o'clock.
Yeah, boy.
Second.
Motion second. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Kucera?
Yes.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes.
And Mr. Tinder?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Now, is it going to take them a couple months to move the clock back now? Yes, yeah. That's like my wife. She just has to roll over.
City center would be fine.